Okay.
However, it's about having access to all the technologies, not just with one distributor has to sell. It's also about creating a community of not only just the individuals with vision loss, but the doctors, the developers of the technology, and the researchers, bringing everybody to the table, basically creating a hub.
Hello again, everybody. My name is John Healy. I do a podcast. It's good to talk. People know me because sponsors are Liffey Van Lines, a moving company here in New York City, and they've been around longer than the New York City Marathon. When it comes to movement, at Liffey do the lifting. Irish Examiner USA are also involved with me now recently. That's another sponsor. And the other thing I want to always mention is this book I got published by my friend a few years ago, and that's how it all started, by Stoney McGurn, my good friend. The book is on Amazon, but more importantly today, for the purpose of this conversation, you can get it on audio. And the reason I got it on audio is because I did a lot of work for people with disabilities in the early 90s. And this book's on audio for people that are blind or have sight problems or impaired vision. My guest today is going to be right on that topic because that's what he does. Brian Walensky is a doctor, and I want to know all about the eyes. Hello, Brian.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And no, that's great that you have it on audio now because that is so important.
Yep.
Audio books. I am an optometrist and work as the Chief Technology Officer at Lighthouse Guild. And we give services to people who are blind or visually impaired. And audio books and even audio description for movies and television is so important, so widely used.
Okay. Where did you study, Brian? Just go back a little bit.
Sure. So I actually got my optometry degree out of New England Optometry, New England College of Optometry up in Boston. And then I did a residency after that in primary eye care at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. Let's talk about the Lighthouse Guild. Okay, like what do they do? Is it all technology, or am I missing something here?
Sure. No. Well, I'll backtrack a little bit too about the Lighthouse Guild. So, Lighthouse Guild is actually a combination of two organizations that are around since the early 1900s. It's a combination of the Lighthouse International, which was on the east side of Manhattan, and of Jewish Guild for the Blind, which was on the west side of Manhattan. In 2013, they combined forces to become one, and they became the Jewish Guild. Jewish Guild for the Blind. They became the Lighthouse Guild, and combined forces, and really now bring over 200 years of experience together in that combination. And now the home office is located on the west side of Manhattan, just behind Lincoln Center at 250 West 64th Street.
Okay.
And what we do there is we provide medical and rehabilitation services with a concentration really in technology, and understand that technology is so important in the community for people to utilize who are blind or visually impaired.
Okay. Right, you explained that very, very well. So, yeah, people that need your resources, like, are they totally blind, partially blind, colorblind? What's going on?
Sure, not a problem. Well, one thing, like I just mentioned, is that we are a medical center, so that we do have primary care physicians there. And we not only have primary care, we have diabetes care. So there's an endocrinologist, there's a podiatrist. Really, these doctors are there for the needs of someone who's with vision loss. As we know, diabetes can cause vision loss. We also have a large behavioral health center. So there's 12 social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists working for the behavioral or health needs for an individual going through vision loss, such as anxiety or depression over that change in life or vision loss. What we also have is for optometrists who do low vision exams as well as regular eye exams. So this is where you were getting at is, when does someone come to Lighthouse Guild? So let's take an example of someone, we're seeing much more and more of aging eye disease, right? We're living longer, and many people are either losing sight to, let's say, diabetic retinopathy due to diabetes, or losing sight to macular degeneration, which we're hearing so much more and more about. So let's say someone gets diagnosed and monitored over time and even maybe treatment with their ophthalmologist. Now, that they definitely need. You need to be monitored by your specialist, by your retina specialist, by your ophthalmologist, or specialist who is monitoring and treating the eye disease. However, what we do is we do something called vision rehabilitation. And Lighthouse Guild provides that, and that is managing someone's day-to-day life. How do you do your daily activities when you're having trouble reading, when you're having trouble using your computer or your phone, or when you're having trouble just even getting from to to fro, getting to your doctor's appointments? So there is a specialty in that called vision rehabilitation. So first off, you're seeing a doctor of optometry who, in our clinic, who does an evaluation of the vision loss and then makes recommendations based on the individual's goals and what they want to accomplish optically of what can be done. Then they make a recommendation or referral to an occupational therapist who we have on site to do a technology evaluation. And from there, they're really looking deep into what the person wants to accomplish, what technology fits with that goal in mind, and then teaching the individual of what they want. But it's so much more than that, because we not only have a technology center at Lighthouse Guild, but what the technology center is doing is not just providing the devices or the items, because it could just be a free app on our phones. There's so many of them out there. I could talk days about all those. However, it's about having access to all the technologies, not just with one distributor has to sell. It's also about creating a community of not only just the individuals with vision loss, but the doctors, the developers of the technology, and the researchers, bringing everybody to the table, basically creating a hub. And then it's about wellness. The whole wellness of the individual is where the behavioral health comes in.
Okay. Right. Let me backtrack for myself.
Sure.
Back in the, I was very much involved with people with disabilities. And one charity was called Vision. And I did a huge fundraising event for them. It was to buy some medical device machine for babies born with eye defects, okay? And the way we did the charity, including my staff at the time in Mother Hubbard's restaurant, we reached out to all the celebs and people in radio and TV and music and that to paint a little bit of art or something, and we auctioned it off. So we had people like Daniel O'Donnell, a famous country western singer, Boyzone, many of my listeners should know, Ronan Keating, or people like Pat Kenny and Joe Duffy, and they loved it because not many people thought they could paint. And those people that couldn't paint just donated one of their trophies from music awards. And that went to the Children's Hospital in Crumlin in Dublin. And it was successful. They were able to buy the machine device to help newborn babies. And on that note, Stevie Wonder, yeah, he was born 6 weeks premature. And his problem with his eyes as a baby in the incubator was he got too much oxygen. So let's talk about babies for a moment.
Sure. I mean, with babies and their needs, I mean, again, every stage of life is going to be very different, the needs of the individual of when or if someone is blind or visually impaired. And even if someone is visually impaired, there's a whole spectrum with that too in their needs. So babies, a child can be born with cataracts. We also have what you talked about, the incubator, that's called retinopathy of prematurity, where the retina didn't develop properly. And there's other issues as well, some genetic disorders as well that someone could be born with. And then you need therapists who work with the child, with the baby, to make those life skills or meet those life's moments.
So you mentioned there, I think, myopic. Is that farsighted or short-sighted?
So myopic is nearsighted, myopia.
Nearsighted.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting in itself because it's hard to figure out why some people are nearsighted and some people are farsighted. And going back to another aspect of the eyes, eyelids, eyebrows, of course, they're all peripheral parts to do with the eye. Eye color is interesting. Like, do people with blue eyes have better sight than people with brown eyes or green eyes? I'm from Ireland, okay, and we were invaded just about everybody and anybody. And the Vikings apparently brought us a lot of stuff, but they brought us the blue eyes. the Spanish invaded us on the Galway side, and they brought what's known as the Black Irish. Okay, so people from there have different features if their origin is the Spanish side, and if they're the Viking side, they're more blue-eyed, mostly in general. And apart from that, the British invaded, and they taught me how to speak English. So different influences comes from different backgrounds. So does it matter what color your eyes are?
Well, I would say the color of the eye comes from the amount of pigment that's in the iris of the eye.
Okay.
So I would not say that someone has better vision for having blue eyes versus brown eyes versus hazel eyes versus green eyes.
Okay.
However, there is more protection to the retina and the back of the eye when someone has a darker color eye.
Okay.
Well, I always know what's Bono from U2 always wears glasses, and he always wears sunglasses, and he also always wears, sometimes he has a yellowish kind of tint, and he's actually told people that it's because of, one, the glare that comes off from when he's on stage, but two, also is because he has glaucoma. And glaucoma can actually cause somebody to have an increased light sensitivity. So the sunglasses or the yellow tint helps him.
Yeah. I think Bono will be okay because I think Bono is God. Well, Bono knows he's God, so he'll be all right.
I just saw him at the Sphere last in October. It was wonderful. It was a great show.
I think he's a great guy. He does a lot of good things. Of course, there's people that don't like him for different reasons, but I think he's a good person and he's Irish, of course. So let's see. Let's go back to the Lighthouse Guild, okay? And how is that funded, or is it government funded, or how does it make it pay the bills?
Sure. Well, we do have programs and services that we provide. So we do have a medical center, so run like any type of clinic. We also have we do have grants and funding as well as fundraising, and we have people who've been involved with Lighthouse Guild, families for years.
Mm-hmm. And is there like a peripheral support of, say, fundraising, I guess is the word I'm looking for, where people like supported in different ways?
Sure. So we have different events and different ways that people can help support. We have a development department, and they have different events that they put on throughout the year. One that's coming up, a fundraiser that we're doing, is we're involved with the TD Bike Tour that's going to be coming up in May. So the 5-borough bike tour. So people can sign up if they want to be part of the team and help us raise money. That's
a fun way to fundraise, actually, is to get involved in an activity.
Yeah. And we have people even using the tandem bikes as well.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. I actually knew somebody that came here for the Olympics way back, and it was a tandem bike. The guy was blind and deaf. A bit like Helen Keller. Like, she was blind and deaf. Okay. And her story is quite interesting too, because just like your Lighthouse Guild, she was lucky to find a teacher that taught her from an early age, like Braille, of course. We'll talk about Braille in a second. And look at Helen Keller. I mean, in fairness, Braille apparently was invented by a young man from France, I think.
Yes.
And I think his last name is Braille.
Correct.
I know I'm pronouncing it wrong because my French isn't good. My English is perfect. My French is bad. So, and Braille goes back a long time too. I think it's maybe a bit like what the army and the people at sea use. Is it Morse code I'm thinking of?
Morse code, correct.
Morse code, yeah. So that's like touch, feel, and it's not a language. It just, your brain knows the translation of what the message is.
What you mean for Morse code? Well, it's by sound.
Or audio. From Braille, yeah. Sorry, from Braille.
Well, from Braille, it's tactile, so each letter has its own. There's an alphabet, and as well as for numbers. And somebody is then taught that or learns that from someone who teaches. And you're talking about, we were talking about teachers, like you mentioned before, the someone who was teaching Helen Keller. So we also do vocational rehabilitation. This is for younger individuals seeking job training. So we do teach someone without sight how to use a computer or how to use certain technologies in order to stay employed. Unfortunately, the blind and visually impaired community, there is a 70% unemployment and underemployed rate. And we need to make that change because there's no reason that someone can't do a job just like you and I.
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sidetracking again a little bit, I have a lot of friends in the art world who are artists, okay? And interestingly enough, my curiosity, my guest today is Brian Walensky. We're talking about eyes, eye defects, blindness, etc. But getting back to my friends, artists, I often noted that some of them not necessarily have good sight. So it's more like from the brain, I think, to what they put on paper, okay? Like, just when I produced a book for my friend Stoney, like, it was our first book, number one, and I often compare him to Steve Hawkins. I often compare myself to Helen Keller, but we still were able to produce a book, which is an achievement in itself for Stoney and myself, of course. But in the world of art, I think was Rembrandt blind? No. Maybe he liked to paint in the dark. He liked to paint in the dark, I think. But it's an artist. He's an artist. But getting more to do with night vision and day vision and light, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And let's go to nutrition for the eyes, okay? Like food.
So different foods definitely make a difference. So there's been a lot of work in that area, specifically for macular degeneration. You know, just a healthy lifestyle in general, of course, keeps our heart healthy, keeps our eyes healthy, keeps our brains healthy. It's just everything in general.
Okay.
It's known that green leafy vegetables are very good for the eyes, specifically for macular degeneration. So there's actually something called lutein and zeaxanthin, which is in green leafy vegetables. That's the component. So there are actually supplements out there as well that are taken. There was a big study done called the Age-Related Eye Disease Study, and it's called the ARIDS formula of the supplement. And now they have what's called ARIDS 2, which is over the counter. But I would recommend, if anyone is thinking about taking any of those kind of supplements, speak to your doctor first to make sure it's right for you. Some of them have too much beta carotene, which can actually be a hindrance and cause lung cancer in previous smokers. So just because somebody says something is good doesn't mean it's good for you.
Well, I remember growing up as a teenager, and people said that carrots are good for eyesight, okay? And they would refer to like rabbits having good eyesight. And I think I kill more rabbits with my car than anybody, because the rabbit in my eyes, pardon the pun, he seemed to run towards the car. And I guess the headlights dazzles him, and then that was the end of the rabbit. But talk a little bit more about your organization, the Guild, insofar as, say, somebody coming, do you take insurance, or have they to pay out of pocket, or
so
how does that go?
Sure, there are multiple ways. That one thing is Lighthouse Guild is there for the community, and they'll never turn someone away. So there are ways to be seen if somebody is uninsured and doesn't have anything. But yes, it's usually through insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, through different plans. But let me also say this: if someone just needs a regular vision exam, Lighthouse Guild can provide that as well. They have top-notch optometrists there who do great eye exams. And we have an optical center where people could even just get their glasses, called Eye Care Eyewear.
Okay, that's interesting too. I'll get your information in a minute to put up on the screen so people can reach out and contact you. And like I have another two scientists on in a few weeks. One guy was on before with me, Sergey. He's doing like brain research cancer in Sloan Kettering, and he'll be back on in a few weeks again. It was over a year ago since he was on before, and I want to grill him this time. Like what has the scientist achieved in a year? Like why does it take so long for a scientist to develop results? We take the coronavirus. Okay, the shot, as it's called, was developed pretty fast. The Spanish flu stopped World War One because so many people were dying. So it took a vaccination, I guess, and other like measles and smallpox, etc. Like vaccinations were pretty fast. Is there anything happening in the world of the eyes that's coming up to say to either stop a baby from developing blindness, or maybe just helping?
So there's a bunch of things actually in the works currently right now. There's a lot of work going on in stem cell research, and as far as genetic gene splicing or things like that, like basically to combat against inherited retinal disease. So there is a lot of work going in that direction. The eye is actually one of the places that scientists love to work on with, especially when it comes to genetics, because one is the eye's right here. We can easily access it. We can easily access it with an injection of whatever genetic code we want. And the second reason is because we know we got results if somebody's vision gets better. And then third is the immune system there. So the safety of it is actually pretty high, and they've been doing a lot. Then that's what a lot of the studies have been showing, is that the safety of doing these injections into the eye, doing gene therapy. However, there is something on the horizon that's really, really neat, which our CEO is actually involved with, and that's a full human eye transplant.
I was just about to come to that. I want to talk to you about the transplant, because I want to donate my eyes when I'm finished with them. I hope whoever gets them uses them and has good luck around the world. So, talking about the eye transplant.
So, there is a government organization called ARPA-H, and they sort of do the moonshot things out there, things that are difficult to achieve. And one of those, of course, would be a full eye transplant, which has not been done and is very difficult. Think of all the muscles, the blood vessels, the optic nerve. The eye is an extension of the brain, so you could think of it as like a front of the brain transplant. Yeah. So the issue here is that they're putting research into this. They're going to move forward. It's called THEA, and the program manager, the person who is working with that program, it happens to be our CEO. He's doing it in his own time with that organization at Lighthouse Guild.
And speaking of research, and one more comment, I usually have this for the other scientists to bring, like animals, like mice are used for research and all that. And I know, say, like when a dog has pups, it usually takes 8 to 10 weeks for their eyes to open. Indeed, I have Republican friends like that, but I won't go there. Is there any knowledge that people learn from, say, other animals dealing with the eyes in particular?
I don't know of any companies using animal eyes in research. This I'm not aware.
I don't mean the transplant, of course, but observation, pardon the pun again, of why it takes a baby dog, a pup, 8, 10 weeks for their eyes to open. Is it to do with the eyelids, or is it just the process?
I believe it's just that I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
I don't know the answer to that.
That's okay. Well, we don't. This podcast is called "It's Good to Talk."
Sure. No, it's great to talk. I do want to mention, though, you mentioned how you want to donate. If anyone wanted to donate, people can donate part of their eye. They can actually donate their corneas. So people can donate their corneas.
Well, that's news to me. So I don't write scripts, and you don't write a script. So it's off the cuff, more or less. But that's interesting. I didn't know you could donate part of an organ. Of course, that's interesting. And I did have the pleasure one time of meeting Betty Davis, when I was doing a summer job when I was very young. And Betty Davis does have Betty Davis eyes. So her eyes are small, from what I could see, and very beautiful. So your website again, please?
Our website is www.lighthouseguild.org.
Okay. So my guest today was Dr. Brian Orlinsky, all about the eyes, eyesight, and all that and everything. The eyelids are there to protect the eye, I guess, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah.
It actually helps provide part of our tear film.
I was going to come to that. I did a podcast before Christmas there with a lady dealing with death and grief and the importance of crying. I guess weeping, you would call it from your point of view. And people cry with sadness and people cry with laughter. But I think the tears are for keeping the eyes lubricated, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. And I noticed you blinking there. So Blinking is important, I think, for the
Blinking,
eye.
blinking not only helps spread the tear film. Our tear film is also another optical layer. So if you do
Okay.
have a poor tear film and dry eye, actually it can cause not only irritation, red eye, or just feeling of gritty sandness feeling to your eyes, but it also can be it can cause poor vision.
All right. I think we covered a lot today.
I know.
And thank you for
And there's a whole lot. And one thing, if I want to express, is if anyone has been, if anyone has been diagnosed with anything, a vision problem that could lead to a deterioration of vision or vision loss in the future, I think it's very important to see a low vision eye doctor or vision rehabilitation specialist early in the process. So I would recommend not waiting till things get worse, and you want to put what I call your team together. So if you're being treated for an eye disease, I think it's still important to come see us at Lighthouse Guild or anyone else providing these kind of services. Earlier the better.
I can't think of anything else to ask you about.
And maybe the last thing too, if anyone is having any vision difficulties, to know that there is technology out there. There are things in our phones. There are things that, that are miraculous, that are amazing technologies that really can help an individual. And so there's so much out there to learn and know, and please reach out to us or even just go to our website to find out more.
And thank you for sharing all the knowledge. I find it very, very interesting because I don't know everything. I'm always willing to learn. And I think that's about it. I usually sign off. Thank you. You're welcome. I usually sign off in my native language, which is Irish. And I add a few words every week because people want to know what it sounds like, I guess, and get a blas, which means a flavour of it, a flavour in Gaelic. And scale means a story. And shin scale, that means that's a story. Scale means another story. And Slánawali means safe home. And Sláinte means good health. Brian, thank you so much.
No, thank you, John.